right, let's do this. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to the Super Farmer Cigar Garage Talks. How's everyone doing tonight? I'm doing excellent. Awesome week. I'll get into that a little bit, but I am doing great. Let's start off. What are we smoking? What are we drinking? Tonight, from the Sideshow, Diesel Sideshow, the Pinhead, the end of the cigar, the cap, has this cute little pin coming out of the back of it. Pretty cool. Good cigar, liking it so far. For the drink, from Old Nation, the Solace. Black lager with natural flavorings. Can't wait. Yeah, so how are y'all doing? I am, as I talked about in the last video, in the midst of Exodus 90. Just got done with the first week. We are now on Sunday, so we're allowed to relax. Some of our, I got some tobacco in my beer glass. Whoops, that's all right. Came out nice and easy. So on Sunday during Exodus, you were able to relax some of your asceticisms, some of your sacrifices, some of your disciplines. Look at that. That's a really good head on that beer. Oh my, that's interesting. Kind of sour, kind of sweet, still delicious. You get to relax. That's why I'm able to drink a beer during Exodus, shoot these videos with a delicious cigar. And week one went great. Had a lot of temptations, was able to resist a lot, stayed to my asceticisms and disciplines really well, actually. I was quite surprised on how well I was able to stay with the program. Only had a couple little slip-ups, a couple of mess-ups, nothing too major, and a couple of them technically are excusable. But anyway, I guess you're not here for the Exodus update. You are here for the war story. So let's do it to it. As you can probably tell from the title of the video, what was your worst call? That is the most controversial thing to ask any public servant, paramedic, firefighter, police officer. Very controversial to ask them what's the worst thing they ever saw, what's the worst call they've ever been on, what's the grossest, most disturbing thing they've ever seen. They're all in the same category, of course. And there's many school of thoughts. Some people say that that's the worst to ask someone because it makes them relive their worst call. It makes them have to think about and remember the worst thing they've ever been a part of. And I understand that. I get that. And I can appreciate people are like, you just shouldn't ask them that. But in truth, I mean, we do like to share these things. We do sometimes talking about it and getting it out and normalizing it is very healthy. To talk about the worst call you were ever on can take it out of that traumatic, my God, I can't believe I went through this, to more of the, yeah, I went through that and I got through it. I'm going to keep getting through it. So kind of a interesting school of thought when it comes to that. Now for the answers you're going to get. 90% of the time, you're going to get a lie. I'll kind of explain why that is. If you ask a public servant, what's the worst call you ever had, you're going to get a lie about 90% of the time. First off, maybe they don't want to relive it. So they make up a story. I saw a decapitation, man, it's gross, head rolling around. Then they don't want to relive their worst call. Okay. Maybe they are being polite. They don't want to share in pleasant company or in civil company what their worst call was, because they don't believe that it should be shared around friends, family, or at a celebration. Or I've been asked just like randomly at a job function, like in a meeting with other people who are non-EMS when I was working for the state. Just someone randomly, what's the worst thing you've ever seen? It's like, wow, we're kind of in a very formal, very professional setting, and you want me to talk about like the worst call I've ever had? So they'll lie, and I've done it too. I've lied about my worst call. there are also quite a few people who the calls they've been on have been relatively tame. Their worst might just be, treating a patient who shit himself. Excuse me. So they'll lie about, what their worst call was, make it up, make something grandiose. But why do most of us lie about our worst call? Is because to many people, they won't understand how that's the worst thing you've ever seen. When it comes to the worst call ever, you have to understand that worst is subjective. It's different for each person. So there are lots of calls I've been on that many people would classify as their worst. Again, I took care of children all the time. I took a lot of pediatric transports. So I would see kids who were abused, who were badly mangled, sick, dying. And yeah, you know what? I can't say that like I could just shrug it off. Oh, it's no big deal. It affected me. Yeah, sure. I felt for them. I felt for their parents. But I was able to get over it, to move on, to continue on. It didn't affect me deep down. If it did, I would have got out of the pediatric transports, right? I've seen, young people die, old people die, decapitations, mutilations, stuff that M. Night Shyamalan would want to grab a pencil and paper and put in his next horror movie. But by and large, a lot of that stuff, I saw it, it was bad, but I was there to help and I could rationalize, I made a difference, and I could move on. No big deal. Yeah, it is nightmare fuel for a lot of people. But for whatever reason, God willing, God protecting me, I was able to endure that stuff and continue on. And that's what I find with most EMS professionals. Like, there's a lot of stuff we can see and we can do, and it really doesn't affect us like it probably should for most of the population. But our worst call is the one that hangs with us, that stays with us. The one that we drink a little extra drink for, maybe a lot of extra drink for. Maybe it's that call that keeps us up at night. The one that we replay in our head over and over again. Again, it might not be a call that most people would think is that traumatic or that horrific. But it is for us. It is for that individual. Now, homeschooling mama's call, yes, was one of my worst calls I've ever been on. Definitely top 3, right? But not for the reason you'd think. It wasn't overly graphic. It wasn't overly traumatic. If that was not my wife, that would actually be kind of a simple call at any other time. I treated many miscarriages before that, many traumatic miscarriages before that, many missed miscarriages before that, and they had never really affected me. So yes, homeschooling mamas is up there, but the one that always pops to mind when someone asks, what is my worst call? And the reason I don't have that one as my worst call is because, one, I know what happened. Again, spoiler alert, homeschooling mama lived. And because it happened so close to home, I made myself find the positive spins on that one. Made myself put away the blinders and open my eyes to all the good that did come from a horrible thing that happened. My worst call comes because I don't know how the story ended. It's like ripping out the last 50 pages of a crime novel. I don't know how this ends. I still don't to this day. I can't bring myself to actually find out how this story ends. So, let's tell my story. My worst call ever. No lies, no exaggerations. This is the one that hung with me and will hang with me probably until the day I die. So this was after homeschooling mama had her accident, and to say that I started treating pregnant women differently is an understatement. I believe I gave every patient the best possible care they could have received. Out of any medic who would have picked them up, I gave them the best. So when I say that I overtreated pregnant patients, take that for what it is. I made sure they had the pinnacle of assessment, the proper treatment of all kinds, because they were kind of my triggering patient. That's what you find with the worst call ever. It's due to your triggering patient. What triggers you? So here we were. Got called to the scene of an NVA. Bread and butter, right? Distracted asshole on a cell phone. Rear ends a, I think it was a little SUV, like one of those not a Ford Focus. What are those things called? Like the HHRs, you know, the kind of cross between a station wagon and a SUV. Anyhow, not really integral to the story. Go to the driver, the person who got struck. My partner went to the person who was the idiot. And lo and behold, it's a pregnant woman. Very pregnant. Make matters worse, I know her not socially, and kind of professionally, I guess you could say. I do know her, we've met. And she's not doing good. She got hit. And she starts talking, is her baby okay? Can we check out her baby? So much so that she didn't realize that she was actually had a pretty good bump to her head and a possible deviated spinal column deviation. Hard to say. It might have actually been that she's had this, and just with the pregnancy, it was worse. She thought at one time she might have had a crooked spine, like some scoliosis or whatnot. So we do the best we can to load her up. And this was a rough week for this one, because this is when the state of Michigan started to really go down the dark path of hating children and started to approve a lot of abortions and normalizing abortion, a call for the murder of children. And a lot of stuff just hit me. You know, here's so many women you hear about who murder their unborn child. Well, this pregnant mother wants nothing more than to have her unborn child live. So I have that going through my head. That was insanely traumatic. No lie, no joke. She wanted nothing more but for her unborn child to live. And she couldn't feel it move. I did every assessment I could. No spotting, no bleeding. Tender to her abdomen, 100%. Redness, no bruising yet. So it was a long shot. But she was far enough along, I may be able to hear fetal heart tones with a stethoscope. We did not have a Doppler at that time. So I'm digging in with a stethoscope, just trying my damnedest all over her stomach, trying to hear some sort of fetal heart tones, movement, something. Double-edged sword, of course, doing that. I might, because it is very difficult to hear fetal heart tones with a stethoscope, especially going 100 miles per hour in the back of an ambulance. So I might make her more anxiety if I can't find those heart tones. I might cause her more stress because I'm going to keep listening. I wanted to lie to her, which is the number one biggest no-no you should do. You never lie to your patient, right? Don't tell them everything's going to be okay. You tell them you're doing the best you can. But homeschooling mama's call was in my head. I wanted to lie to homeschooling mama, but I couldn't. I thought maybe just this once I could lie to her and put my hand on this pregnant person's shoulder and tell them everything's going to be all right. Lie to her, tell her I heard fetal heart tones. I couldn't, though. I don't know why. I couldn't lie to her. it is disturbing still this day. I mean, every time I hear someone champion the sacrifice of an unborn child, hearing that mother just plead to God, plead to me to make sure her baby's okay. She wanted nothing more than to have that child. And I couldn't tell her the answer. I couldn't tell if the baby was all right or not. I couldn't tell her anything. I spent, I don't know, maybe it was 10 minutes, the transport time, doing my other jobs, of course, vitals and monitoring and reassessing, yada, yada, yada. But every chance I got, stethoscope to stomach, searching all the locations where you might be able to hear the fetal heart tones. That one broke me. I actually took a week off of work and talked to a bunch of people about it and asked myself, what could I do if that happened again? What could I do differently? And there was only one answer. We needed a Doppler. So I went and purchased a Doppler, put it in my duty bag. That way if I had another pediatric or another OB patient that were concerned about the health and well-being of the baby, I could pop that sucker out and use it. Was it against protocol? Well, we didn't have a protocol specifically for it or against it. Was it against the standard of care? Yeah, maybe. Did I give a shit? Not one bit. That was in there for my benefit and my patient's benefit. My boss found out, freaked out. I didn't care. I told him, find me in the protocol where it says no. They came up with some bullshit reason, of course, because that's what management does, comes up with bullshit. So I removed it and put it in my partner's duty bag. It's not in mine. And they had too many attaboys from the boss, for the boss to suspect them of anything. So I finished out my shifts with a Doppler in my duty bag. Because damn it, I never wanted to have that happen again. That was the worst. Sitting there, having a mother beg for her child's life, her unborn child's life. And I couldn't do a damn thing about it. So I told myself never again. I was going to make sure I could do something if that happened again. Life's too precious, folks. Especially an unborn life. Anyone who tells you differently is an idiot. To hear a mother beg God, beg you, for the life of a infant she hasn't even met yet. I know a lot of medics, that's nothing to them, no big deal. That's why I say, the worst call ever is subjective. Everyone's got a different one. That'll be mine. That is mine. That's my cross to bear. That's what I have to deal with. So folks, if you see me, you ask, what's the worst call I ever had? I'm one of the 10%ers who won't lie to you. I'll tell you what it is. It won't sound that bad, right? Like, really, you've seen a kid who was snowmobiling, got his head decapitated, and his brother had to carry the head in, and his other brother had to drag in the body separate? That wasn't that bad? That doesn't affect me as this call did. Maybe I'm a bad person. Who knows? There you go, folks. That's the worst call I've ever been on. It'll haunt me to the day I die. To the day I die. There we go, yeah. And maybe one day I'll find out if the kid lived or not. But due to the shitty situation with patient care, HIPAA in the hospital, I don't know to this day. Pray to God that kid lived. And that mother's doing all right. Anyway, folks, I'm going to go enjoy my cigar, enjoy my beer. Look forward to Monday, start of the next Exodus round of disciplines, asceticisms, and sacrifices. You all stay safe out there. See you on the next one.